poppin', what's good? You already know it's your girl, Miss Daisy. Welcome back to another episode of Chatting with Daisy. So today's a little different. We're gonna be just talking about, life in general, while I'm going to be actually repotting 3 different plants I recently got. So I just want to show you guys, I might give you little tips here and there of, how I repot my plants, some tips, some soils you should use, some mixes that you could add to your soil to improve the water flow within the soil so you don't get root rot and all those different things, and just overall plants, because they're so amazing and they're full of life and they're amazing. So I said amazing twice. So let's get started. I'm gonna first start with this one. I got this one for Easter. It is a succulent. I recently got this one for my mom. What you want to do is gently tip over your plant like this. And I'm gonna probably repot it in a different pot. I should have gotten this pot before. I could repot it back in here. There is space in this pot. It's just this is too things. So what I would do is just squeeze around the side like this, just to wiggle and wake up the soil. I'll take out the other plants so you guys can see which other ones we're going to be doing. So they're not in the way. Like so, wake up the soil. And then you want to gently just pull, or even sometimes I cut because I don't want to damage it, and just take it off like that. So as I can feel already, the soil is really damp. Some tools that you might want to have before we actually really get our hands dirty here is a pair of scissors. I do have gardening scissors, but I misplaced them. So make sure you can use a normal scissors, but make sure they are very sharp. Almost hit myself in the eye. Make sure they are very sharp and make sure they're sanitized before you use them. I like to use chopsticks. Sometimes plants need a little extra care and a little love to stand up straight and just help them grow in the right direction. So I got some of those. I got a tall one too, like this, and also some string as well to help you tie those little loose ends. And I have my little handy dandy trowel, and I had my, but it's okay, we don't really need it. So let's get started. So because the soil is really wet, I already can tell that this could have had or possibly had root rot. So it's going to be losing all the extra foliage. Too wet. The drainage on this soil was not the best. I do like to use a trowel, but sometimes, you gotta do what you gotta do. So this soil is soaking wet. Oh my gosh, I'm surprised it doesn't have root rot. Anyway, I said we would have a conversation. So I hope everyone's doing well. I think, as spring is coming now, we are changing our perception on a lot of different things and becoming more open to new things, because, spring brings in new energy, brings in change, it brings in enlightenment, it brings in prosperity and growth, because spring is all about that new growth, because plants are growing, flowers are growing, we're changing of the seasons. It's so important. So what I find is that during the winter, there's events to go to, there's things to do, but it's not as prominent as the summertime, because when it's summertime, people would take off work, no problem, will stay up later because they enjoy the hot summer nights, the long, sunny, hot days, and there's so much to do in the summer. That's why people love the summer so much. So we lost a couple guys. We can actually pot these in some water and or into some soil, and they can grow. So we're not going to throw these pieces away. I think there's another one in here. Yeah. So you're going to go like this so that your roots are exposed. Next, what we're going to do is I use the Pro Mix Premium Soil. I think it's like $7, I believe. Something like that. $7 or $8. I'm actually gonna switch pots. I was gonna pot this guy in a different one, but I feel like this one would be pretty for the succulent. So I'm gonna change it because I feel like you fit better in there. So we're gonna plant them in here. So I think actually, sorry guys, I'm just switching things around here. I think we're gonna use this one because this pot is where my last succulent was in, and it was just better overall for space for the succulent to grow. So yeah, I'm just gonna take out all the extra dirt. There's a plant in here before, you know, they grow old, change pots. So I just want to show you guys. So this is what wet soil looks like. This is what dry soil looks like. I don't know if you can fully see, but if you can tell there's a visibly color difference. This is overwatered, and this one was, you know, obviously not watered at all. So keep that in mind when you are repotting your plants. So this is the soil that I like to use. I think it's like $7 or $8.99, something like that. I've been using it for a while. My plants love it. I love it. We all love it. It's doing great. It's doing wonders. So put some soil in there. This soil already has some Pro Mix in it, but I like to use a little bit of perlite. I think what's important when you're repotting your plant is making sure there's no like clumps in the soil. It's important. This soil also already has some nutrients put in there for it. So you're gonna see some green dots in there. It's to like keep your plants, you know, thriving, have nutrients. I usually don't use a trowel, but because I don't want to make a huge mess and make my hands super dirty, I'm just gonna use the trowel today. So as you're doing it, just kind of make a little hole. I'm gonna go in with some perlite. So perlite is great for drainage. I like to use perlite near the top of the soil, and I just use a little bit. I think for this one I'm gonna use my hand, it's just easier. Just a little bit, sprinkle it on top. It's gonna look like that. And I just mix it in. It already has some in there, but I need some more. So mixing that in. You know, it's all in the soil, man. When you're repotting plants, it's all in the soil. So I'm gonna make a little, put a little more in there. And then I'm gonna make a little hole for the roots to go. This one I'm gonna do with my hands because I feel like it's important to really see what I mean. I told you guys. I'm gonna make a mess. Anyway, making a hole in the center for my plant to go into. And it's gonna look something like that. So it's gonna go right in the center there. And then you're gonna be careful. And you're gonna push this extra soil that you had around the edges to the center. And you're gonna be gentle. And then you can add some more soil underneath to make sure it's really padded under the plant. Anyway, back to what I was saying about spring, right? I made a whole video on it, but I made the video coming out of hibernation in January, and I ended up posting it last week. And I realized, like, sometimes you make things or you do things and it may not make sense now, but it'll make sense later. We don't do things based on the Algorian calendar and, you know, normal time constraints. We do things based on our own clocks because everyone's reality is different, right? And we all perceive things differently. We all have perspectives. That's the beauty of humanity, right? If we didn't all have different perspectives, we'd all live the same life. Nothing would have been accomplished by now. We would have been doing the same things that we were doing a while ago, and it wouldn't be changing constantly. But the thing is that things are constantly changing all the time, every day. Something is always being added or taken away on a micro and a macro scale. So the reason why I like plants so much is because they are the most patient. I want to call them, they're like their own little humanity. their own human race. They are so patient. They are so kind. They are so kind and gentle. And they're beautiful. Next, what I'm going to do is give it a little water. Not too much. Just feel it out. You'll know. Trust your instincts. And give it a little water. And when the pot's a little heavy now, she's good to go. And because this pot has drainage at the bottom, it's perfect. So we finished plant number 1. So let's keep going. And those extra ones, save them for the end. If they do fall off, that's fine. We're gonna plant them in here, see if they can grow. So on to the next one. So this one is rosemary. I got this one from Walmart, actually. And I wanted to grow, see, look at that root bound. I wanted a herbal plant since I'm now studying, look at the roots, herbalism. So I decided it was time to invest in some plants. So this one is more of a peat moss texture to it, whatever they were growing it in. Because it is root bound, you need to be extra gentle with this plant. Remove as much soil as you can and be gentle. Try not to, if it is root bound, try not to harm the roots at all. There are gonna be some that are gonna break off, but the strong ones, the ones in the center, those ones are not, they won't break easy. It's usually the ones that are near the top that are a little weaker. What I find is just hitting it. Sorry, it's gonna be a little sorry. And it makes the roots that aren't as strong and the dirt that's loose just to drop out. Because right now I'm almost done. And just be gentle. It looks like I'm hitting it hard, but I'm really not. I am taking my time, and I am just being gentle with our roots here, because the roots are literally the root of the plant. That goes to us too. We can talk about us too. Our roots, where we come from, our backgrounds, our cultures, our whatever, where you originate from is your root, right? And it's important that we know our roots, because if we don't know where we came from, we can't know where we're going. It's like trying to explain to someone that, you're perfect for this company and you have no prerequisites to explain how you are good for this company. You have no references. You have no resume other than your word, right? And your word, yes, your word is very strong and it's very important because, words have power. But to know who you are before they can even describe who they think you are is power. Because people will put you in a box if you can't do it yourself. If you, not put yourself in a box, but if you can't define yourself, they're going to do it for you. And let's be honest, nobody likes to be told about themselves, right? And also a good thing that I found when replanting plants is treat them like a baby. You're holding them like a baby. You're supporting the head. It's literally like a baby. And when you're hitting a baby's bottom to burp, it's like you're burping the baby. You're not hitting too hard. You're hitting just the right amount. And I think this is the best we can do. She will be fine to grow. So I'm going to put that one in the bucket. So this is the bucket that we're going to be planting in. I'm just going to put it in there for now. Move it out the way as we're going to go on to our mint. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Yeah, your word is important. What we say is important. But it's important that you know your prerequisites, where you come from, the language that you speak, your native tongue, your smells so good. The native tongue, the food that you eat. What is your culture? Who do you represent? Where in the world are you from? this is all important, and we may not think it is, because, you know, we want to call ourselves Canadian, or we want to call ourselves American, or, you know, whatever the case may be, especially when you're going to like a first world country that your family moved to. It's still important for you to, yes, indulge in where you are, but also take the time to learn your roots, learn who you are. The more you know, the more you can flow at ease. You can't flow at ease if you're constantly being told who you are and going down all these different paths. Trust me, I know. Hence why I love history. I love to learn about my ancestors. I love to learn about the things that we accomplished and the trials and tribulations that we went through. So, yeah. Also, a great tip that I have learned is that this is about plants, by the way. When you first get your plant, it's very tempting to want to repot it right away, but I suggest to wait. The reason why I say that is because when you wait, you're kind of allowing, like, I think of it in the way as if you would get a fish. If you have a fish before, you know that you're not supposed to put the fish directly in the water. You're supposed to put the fish in the bag, the bag that it comes in the water. That way the fish can then adjust to the temperature of the water. So I got these plants a couple days ago. I waited a little bit before I filmed this video, before I repotted the plants, because I wanted to give them time to readjust to this new temperature, from going to a grocery store, from a plant store, to a new space, you know? So keep that in mind when you get your next plant. I just thought that would be a cool tip. Everyone has their own ways of taking care of their plants. Actually, I'm gonna put some perlite on the bottom. Whoa, that was too much. Don't inhale that. I might sneeze. I didn't want to make this much mess, you know. I really didn't. Jeez. Girl. Have you guys seen how much I put? Oh, girl. Alright, I'm okay. But yeah. Be mindful with the amount of plants you are also getting. I feel like that's important. It's so easy to like get your first plant and then all of a sudden you're getting like a ton of plants because you love how that first plant makes you feel. Master each plant. Master its watering schedule. Master its, you know, if it gets master what it needs most when it's wilting. Does it need fertilizer, like a homemade fertilizer? Does it need more sunlight? Master your plant. Take notes. Like, I have a plant journal where I write about all my plants. That's important. Knowing your plants like you know yourself. That's how you know you're a good plant owner, plant mom, you know? So keep that in mind when you get your next plants, because it's so tempting to just want to get all the plants from the plant store. Trust me, I am one of those people. I want more and more and more, but I need to master first what I have before I can go on and try and find more things. And that goes with everything, you know? You gotta learn something before you move on to the next. Personally, you know, I'm an expressionist, so I can take on multiple things at once and learn them all. Same way. You know, I feel like a lot of people can do that too. You know, once you put your mind to something and you say you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it. So keep that in mind. You know, be mindful about that stuff. A little tip for, you know, new plant moms and dads, and maybe current ones. And obviously, if anything in this video you're like, I don't really agree with that, definitely mention that down below and let's talk about it. You know, I'm always learning new things, and as plant parents, you know, we're constantly learning. And I feel like everyone has their own way of raising their children, like everyone has their own way of raising their plants. It's kind of just what works for you in the environment that you are, you know, making for your plants. So I think I'm gonna put a little more soil actually. I thought I had enough, but, and you know, picking the right soil is also important too. Some plants prefer a drier mix, while others prefer more moisture. Depends on your plants, the breed, like what kind of plant. Is it a tropical plant? Is it succulent? It depends. So keep that in mind as well. So now I've filled up the whole can with soil, and I'm just now making 2 holes where the plants are gonna go. And be sure to leave some space in between them because they're gonna be growing side by side. So the first one is mint. We'll put our mint in there. Make sure it's covered, so roots are covered, but you're not covering any leaves, but it's already grown. Just like that. And then we're gonna put our second one in there. This one's a bit fatter. I'm joking, he's not fat. Because your plants, oh my god, let's talk about that. So plants, I talk to my plants all the time. And I think it's important to be talking to your plants. I feel like most people do, and most people can resonate that your plants can feel emotion. And they do feel stress, and they do feel, you know, when you're not talking to them, they do feel neglected. And they reciprocate your emotions. So if you're feeling really down one day and your plants are droopy, they try to say something. You know what I'm saying? So keep that in mind as well. I feel like these things are so important to how we, you know, grow and raise our plants, and most importantly, how we, you know, grow within ourselves, because I feel like the journey of plants is so important because they reflect the journey of human beings and how we may not be seeing the growth, but people around us are seeing it. So keep that in mind. And then finally top it off with some water. Make sure each plant that you just planted gets a good healthy dose of some good H2O. The soil that I had it in was so dry. So drainage is good. Making sure that the water goes down good. Yep. Sometimes I just make sure the leaves are not covered so I water on top of the leaves. And I like to replicate this what's it called? The rain. And I like to water them like that too. So now we're gonna take some skewers that I was telling y'all about. I'm not gonna tie them because it doesn't need to. And I'm just gonna help support our mint with some support so it can grow. And yeah, so this is the 2 plants that I repotted. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and really messy now. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope that you learned something about plants, about self, and you know, it was really nice chatting with you guys, you know, chatting with Daisy. It was so nice talking with you guys. Make sure you guys subscribe, comment, like this video if it resonated with you, if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Ooh. Bye.